One more question then. Evolution works with mutations, right? Mutations. Can you give an example of a mutation that has increased the genetic information?
I have one. There's a bacteria that was found in Japan off of a nylon factory or something that was able to, from a single mutation where it added a base pair where it wasn't supposed to be, it shifted the entire rest of the code, and it happened to code for a certain enzyme that was able to break down the nylon and use it as like carbon and nitrogen. And nylon didn't exist before 1935, so that gene couldn't have been there before then.
Was that a manipulation, or did it just happen?
It just happened.
Well, I mean,
and they were able to reproduce in the line.
I have another one. The HIV virus. It's constantly mutating to be able to fight off all the antibiotics that they're giving people, and that's why they have to try to keep finding more and more.
That's the nature of bacteria.
Well, I mean,
that's not the nature of a human. That's the nature of a bacteria.
I think it's what's happening. There's a big difference between macroevolution, something starting as a bacteria, like AIDS is still AIDS. It's not like, centipede, but, so I think that they're definitely two different microevolution and macroevolution. But I actually just wanted to ask a question if it's difficult to be an atheist in this culture. Do you guys run into a lot of, people like, I don't know, putting you down because you believe in something different in a derogatory or rude way, not a honestly.
The difficult part, I suppose not difficult, but in order to have an offbeat belief, you have to first accept that you got to shut up a lot, and that not everyone needs to be privy to my belief. I would never I know I'm in the military. And I know a couple of people that, if they knew I was an atheist, I would never stop hearing evidence of why I'm wrong. And I'd be converted constantly. So, I mean, to avoid things like that, I avoid, letting that information out in certain circumstances. What you have to do is act accordingly, but the lack of faith can't really interfere, and you have to be very polite. I mean, everyone in our culture now, for the most part, has adopted the politeness and the diplomacy towards one another, and it's very much like that. It's avoided. That subject doesn't come up. It really doesn't, and because of that, there isn't a lot of people that were never treated differently, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I do see, though, even when we're out tabling for this event, I have a table set up in the CSU, there's a lot of dirty looks that we get. We get a lot of scornful looks as people go by.
I think that's just your purple hair, because I
maybe. But in any case...
I keep hearing you say that.
But we do, and it's not something that, is driving me crazy or anything, but like when George Bush Sr. says that, I don't think that atheists should be considered citizens or patriots because this is one nation under God, that's something that kind of gets under my skin. I don't, and that's kind of sort of the point of this forum as well, is just educate people that, hey, we're not bad. Just a little mutual respect, and we do get that for the most part, but once in a while there's some things that just kind of, I don't know. Casey, you've had your hand up forever.
Yeah, there's various different things that Christians do. From my personal experience, and it probably has something to do with the people that I just tend to associate with, but I find that once I bring up, the subject of atheism or being agnostic, I find that people are right on the verge. They just need someone else to say, yeah, it's okay to think this way. And they're right there with you. It's like, as soon as that door is open as a possibility to them, they just, all this, I've found, thought that they've had pent up forever, just floods out. They're like, I kind of thought this, and this. And like I said, they're just right on the verge of I don't want to say conversion, but for lack of a better word, I'm going to say conversion.
Really just like exploding their feelings, like now they finally have like a realm where they can actually say their thoughts without being like, don't say that, don't think
Yeah,
that, you know?
they see that it's safe, or at least safer than they thought it was.
Yeah.
Okay. New question right here?
I just wanted to.
There's too many people.
Oh, go ahead, buddy.
I think what some people in here are forgetting is people who don't believe in God, they're not saying that they're 100% right. And it's a belief just like it is anybody who's religious. It's just a different belief. And they can't disprove it or prove it any more than we think you can. But they're not saying they're right or wrong, but they just want a little bit of, like they said, mutual respect. But it's
Absolutely.
a belief just like you would believe in Catholicism, Lutheran, whatever you are. It's just a belief. It's
Absolutely. Everyone could be a potential pretentious asshole, right? And it seems that a high percentage of atheists happen to be pretentious assholes.
Hey now.
And, but that
Watch the right books.
being, yeah, they read a lot of books. Being, just being a dick and being atheist, don't. It's coincidental, the combination. That's what I'm saying.
Richard Dawkins.
It's not necessary.
Examples seem to coincide pretty well.
I can't argue against it. There's way too much evidence there.
Richard Dawkins has in his book God Delusion, like he breaks down like in 7 categories. Like one, instead of being the extremes people who's saying, I believe in God and I know He exists. And number 7 is I don't believe in God and I know He does not exist. And then they kind of, you know, like has percentages all the way to like 50-50 of whether or not you do or do not know. And there's like a lot of people just kind of err around like the 2 and 3 or the 6 and 5 area. Or like me, I would say like I'm a 6, or I say I don't believe in God, but I can't say I know, but I'm like pretty much like 90% sure. And that's, you know, obviously so religion's not going to lead my life around. Whereas maybe someone who's a 2 say I believe in God, I don't know He's there, but I'm going to definitely let my life, you know, revolve around religion and, you know, take that to heart.
A lot of this conversation so far has sort of revolved around you know, reasons to believe in God, reasons not to believe in God, what counts as evidence. You know, I'm just curious if anyone is not religious, if any of you are not religious based on moral grounds, maybe you find, for lack of a better term, some religious philosophy more correct.
Yeah, there's a lot of different religions out there, and some of them I consider absurd. But Scientology. But just because I think it's absurd doesn't mean that I don't think that, or different pieces of moral parts of stories, or, you know, things like that. For example, like gay marriage being morally wrong in the Bible, so that would then go into our lives. It should, right? Well, I don't agree with that. I'm like, if you've got a belief, you know, stand by the belief and everything, but it shouldn't completely control your moral standards. Like, when you think about it, that's kind of crazy.
Well, I mean, there is I mean, I agree with you. That's sort of, I mean, in a lot of ways, I could sort of care less about all this kind of stuff. There is a sense in which, you know, where I feel that religion, because they place so much emphasis on the fact that God is the foundation of morality, usually. Most religious people seem to tell me that. I don't want to speak for all of them, but that seems to me a dangerous claim, I think. I think once you get to the point where you're saying God is the foundation of morality, then you can get to the point where you can look at another person and say, well, because God is the foundation of morality, and this person doesn't accept that, I can sort of, like, going off the 10 Commandments, right? You know, there's sort of 5 that have to do with man's relationship to God, people's relationship to God, and people's relationship to people. And I think that when you place so much emphasis on God being the foundation, then you can really use those ones that have to do with God being or that have to do with man's relationship to God to usurp the other ones. You know, to say that, well, they're not following this rule, therefore I can hurt them. It's okay for me to break